Well, they are one of the biggest bands to come out of Minneapolis, and now they are one of the newest inductees into the Minnesota Minnesota Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's a mouthful right there, but we're talking about Soul Asylum, who gained international fame with their biggest hit 25 years ago. In this week's Maury Stories, Maury Glover sits down with lead singer Dave Pirner to talk about the band's storied past and what they're up to now.
It's Saturday night in Rochester, Minnesota, and Soul Asylum is taking refuge on stage. One of their biggest hits may be called Somebody to Shove, but it's clear the guys still know how to jam.
I think we're in a good spot right now. We're ready to go out and play our new material and you know, do the same thing we've been doing, which is go anywhere and everywhere where they will have us.
Lead singer and last original member Dave Pirner says growing up in Minneapolis, he was always curious about music and started playing the trumpet in 3rd grade. Even though he played sports at West High School as a teenager, he was much more interested in practicing to become a future rock star.
Any opportunity I got to play music or be around music or be in a choir or just bang around with my friends. You know, I did a lot of playing of the tennis racket, a lot of jumping around with tennis rackets and stuff and that. So, you know, I had my moves all figured out by the time I learned how to play the guitar.
He eventually formed a punk rock band called Loud Fast Rules with Dan Murphy, Carl Mueller, and later Grant Young in the early 80s. But they changed their name to Soul Asylum a few years later. They were part of a vibrant Minneapolis music scene that included now legendary bands like The Replacements and Husker Du.
The Replacements were more like, this is crazy and it sucks and, you know, everyone's on their own. Husker Du had a little bit more of a nurturing kind of approach to us, I think. They wanted to sort of show us how it's done in a do-it-yourself kind of aesthetic.
For the next decade, Soul Asylum made a name for themselves with their dynamic stage shows and became regulars at clubs around town like First Avenue. They even toured the country as the opening act for other bands. But after a handful of albums, they had little commercial success, and Pirner says they considered calling it quits.
At the end of a really long tour, I started noticing that, you know, my hearing was getting messed up, and I fell into a deep, dark depression. And then I started playing acoustic guitar, which I hadn't really done, like, at all. It didn't really occur to me. I was listening to a lot of, you know, Woody Guthrie and Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen and things like that, that I was like, oh man, I need to try some other angles. So.
His songwriting sessions turned into the album Grave Dancers Union with a string of hits like Black Gold and but it was the 3rd single that catapulted the band to super stardom. Like, well, you know.
Runaway train, never going back. Long way on a one-way track.
Runaway Train only went to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, but the video became a staple on MTV and led to the recovery of 21 of the 36 missing kids featured in it. But Pirner says the song was really about his battle with depression.
I think that's what the song is basically about, is trying to sort of come out of that and trying to, you know, understand that your emotions can get away from you or just take you away from what's in front of you or be, you know, this black hole that you can fall into, and it's no fun.
The song earned Pirner a Grammy for Best Rock Song, and the band played at Bill Clinton's first inauguration, as well as the signing of the National Service Act at the White House a few months later.
What was that like?
Well, it was very strange, Tabitha. It was kind of like a wedding and a little bit more like a church ceremony.
Why Soul Asylum?
They were supportive in the campaign, and they have, you know, they made that wonderful song about runaway children, which had a big impact on young people throughout the country, and we just thought they'd be a good group to be here.
Pirner even wrote the score for Kevin Smith's Chasing Amy and made a cameo in the movie Reality Bites that starred his girlfriend at the time, Winona Ryder.
It's a lot like a fish out of water or a deer caught in the headlights kind of thing. It was always very, I was always kind of taken aback by the whole thing, you know, and cameras and, you know, so I was sort of shy, I guess, and a little put off by a lot of it. But again, I mean, movie making and stuff is a fascinating creative process.
The band released a few more albums, but only one went platinum, like Grave Dancers Union. And in the late 90s, Pirner and the gang took a step back when bass player Carl Mueller was diagnosed with throat cancer and later died. For the last dozen years, Pirner has continued to make music with an ever-changing lineup that now includes former Prince drummer Michael Bland, guitarist Ryan Smith, and Jeremy Tapero on bass guitar, while Pirner splits his time between New Orleans and Minneapolis.
I understand why Prince never really left Minneapolis. It's a good place to sort of come from, I think. Spending 15 years in New Orleans gave me even more perspective.
Earlier this year, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a remake of Runaway Train with other artists in honor of the original's 25th anniversary. The new video also featured pictures of current missing children, and at the time, Pirner said he was grateful to help a new batch of kids get their lives back on track.
Pretty amazing to me that it's got that much staying power or legs or whatever.
But after nearly 40 years, Pirner hopes the band's runaway success will keep on rolling.
We've all sort of been at it for so long that we ain't, you know, we're not going back to college, you know. And so, you know, it's exciting. It's what everyone kind of dreamed of doing, and it certainly doesn't get any easier, you know. It doesn't get less fun, but it's good work if you can get it, you know.
Maury Glover, Fox 9 News.
I'm chills thinking about that video, Runaway Train, and all of the kids that they were able to find. Yeah. Well, up next for Soul Asylum, their annual holiday show at First Avenue on December the 27th.
Yeah, Pirner says the band just finished a new album and a book of lyrics. Expect them early next year, as well as a tour to support their new music.
Well, the Wolves